And today I'm going to discuss about the heart disease, and cardiovascular disease are still considered number one killer globally, and we do not have any solutions as of now, and for heart disease, and most of the interventions as prescribed by doctors are using your wearable technologies or blood works are just focus on managing this disease and actually to the peril of it because most of us blame heart disease to cholesterol and uh, we are solving wrong thing. We end up taking a lot of statins and it has detrimental impact on our cellular biology, on our cell functioning, right? And it actually is counterproductive. So it has been found that 50% of people who lost their lives to heart disease had normal or low cholesterol levels. Right? So high cholesterol level is never linked to your heart disease. So first of all, before I get into the root cause and detailing about the biochemistry behind onset and progression of cardiovascular disease, let us talk a bit about cholesterol. So we all know that cholesterol is a lipid. It is an essential part of our cellular physiology, right? It is often said there's no life without cholesterol, right? And cholesterol is 30% we get from the diet, 70% is synthesized inside our body, it's synthesized in our liver and intestine, right? And our cell needs cholesterol for various cellular processes, right? So some cells synthesis more than what they need, and some cells synthesis less than what they need. And again, certain cells are net exporters, certain cells are net importers. For instance, liver is a net exporter of cholesterol, right? So essentially, there is a movement of cholesterol from one cell to the other for performing various cellular processes, right? And again, so cholesterol is a lipid. It is not soluble in water, right? So essentially, it has to be packaged with a protein called lipoprotein. So the protein part of protein is called apolipoprotein, right? And we have APOA and APOB 100, right? So these are the few uh, you know variants of apolipoprotein, right? Right, and again, we have started measuring APOA1, right? APOB 100, right? And again, measuring this really doesn't tell. So basically, in case of this transport process, when it is packaged with cholesterol is packaged with VLDL, very low density lipoprotein, and LDL, low density lipoprotein, right? And it travels to different cells, and cell perform various functions, and it go and again. After performing the functions, it sends back the cholesterol, what we call as reverse cholesterol transport process. It goes to the liver, where liver it distributes to other tissues for performing various functions such as bile acid metabolism, regulation of sex hormones, production of vitamin D, number of these things, right? Uh, Again, reverse cholesterol transport process it is very essential to understand. So when it is going, your liver synthesizes APOA, right, which again is 70% HDL content, right, and this is released in the bloodstream. It interacts with various peripheral tissues, including heart, right, and again during this interaction, this cholesterol is actually it moves inside of APOA, right? And it becomes, and again, it travels to liver where it gets during this process gets converted to HDL, and again, in liver again it performs various functions as I've shared, probably biological metabolism, sex hormones, and vitamin D synthesis, a lot of these things, right? So that's a normal process, right? So it is not that, so essentially it cholesterol is packaged with LDL, and LDL it goes to cells and cell form. This function it is transported back, it gets into APOA, where it is again APOA is 70% HDL, and it gets converted to HDL, and again it goes to liver where it performs various functions. So again, cholesterol is required for these functions. If you don't have cholesterol, your cells will not function properly, right? So again, when you are measuring APOA 1 or APOB 100, right? what could impact its its expression. And again, here comes the role of the oral and gut microbiome. So we all have discussed about bitrate. Bitrate is a short chain fatty acid, essential fatty acid released by our gut microbiome when we feed them with a lot of fiber and prebiotic and inulin and a lot of detecting a lot of these things, right? And bitrate is set to clear the VLDL and LDL production, right? So it reduces the VLDL LDL production, right? And this is how it maintains the cholesterol homeostasis, right? And again, if your microbiome balance is not producing enough bitrate, again, bitrate we know it's a fuel for intestinal cells. It regulates our own genes expression, right? It also converts immune cells, T cells into memory T cells. So there's a lot of beneficial functions, right? Again, if there's no bitrate, it increases your level of LDL and VLDL, which is again a risk factor for heart disease, right? That is one of the metabolites. Second metabolite is indole propionic acid, which is again an outcome of your microbes metabolizing tryptophan. Again, tryptophan is an essential amino acid, right? And IPA, indole propionic acid, is said to clear this VLDL and LDL, right? And again, a low level of IPA production, right, indole propionic acid production, is said to lead to overexpression of genes that inhibits the LDL clearance, right? So essentially, we really need to have this sort of metabolites bio gut microbiome, right, which is essential. Again, tryptophan could also be converted to gut microbiome into indoxyl sulfate, which is causes oxidative stress, which is a key risk factor for chronic kidney disease. And since it causes oxidative stress, it also oxidizes heterobiopatrin, which is required for production of nitric oxide, and we all know that nitric oxide is a vasodilator. So again, depending upon how your microbiome metabolizes each of these food substances such as tryptophan, it could convert in one individual maybe into IPA, which is beneficial. It may convert into indoxyl sulfate, which is harmful, right? And again, this could lead to cardiovascular disease. We all know that nitric oxide regulates your blood pressure and a lot of these things, right? Third thing is TMAO, trimethylene oxide. Again, it is a byproduct of microbes, gut microbes consuming your L-carnitine, lecithin, right, and choline in various foods and converting to TMA, which is released in the bloodstream, which oxidizes the liver and gets converted to TMAO. And TMAO is actually inhibits the reverse cholesterol transport process, so it leads to high LDL levels. Again, that is one of the risk factors for cardiovascular disease, right? Similarly, lipopolysaccharides. Lipopolysaccharides is another metabolite released by your gut microbiome, which is set to increase the LDL and VLDL production. Again, it is one of the metabolites in the onset and progression of type 2 diabetes and even cardiovascular disease. Then another one is precursor. Precursor is again as a byproduct of your microbiome consuming tyrosine, which is again an essential amino acid, right? And again, it is set to increase the LDL, LDL production, right? So LDL uptake. So again, it is also causes oxidative stress, and on the flip side, it again further oxidizes your tetrohydrobiopterin, which is required for nitric oxide production. So it leads to disruption of nitric oxide production, and it leads to elevated blood pressure and high risk of cardiovascular disease. Fourth, and which is a lot of people do not have focused too much on this, which is phenylacetyl-glutamine, which is your microbes consuming amino acid phenylalanine, right? Phenylalanine is actually, and a high production of PAG is said to increase your triglyceride levels as well. Right? So it is one of the independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease. Now we know that how your gut microbiome, oral microbiome, because nitric oxide is produced by oral microbes, converts inorganic nitrate into nitrate, it mixes with stomach acid to produce nitric oxide. If your oral microbiome is balanced, your gut microbiome is balanced, whatever APOA1 or APOB100 you are measuring, until you understand what is the basic, what specific metabolite, what specific microbial function is causing it, right? Do not focus on the potential, which most of the microbial DNA companies are doing. So we need to focus on real measure the real biochemical functions of these microbiome, real in terms of what metabolites they are actually secreting, what is the level of secretion each of the metabolite, right? So again, that is what impacts your clearance of VLDL and LDL and your cholesterol levels, right? So again, if you need to measure your cardiovascular, your heart health, You need to look at your bitrate production, you have to look at your TMA production, you have to look at your LPS production, you have to look at your precursor production, you have to look at your indoxyl sulfate production, you have to look at your nitric oxide production, you have to look at your, your indoxyl sulfate, precursor, and phenyl acetyl glutamine, right? Again, so even when you are taking protein powders, right, which has protein, and then most of us think, it's we are protein deficient, and we have discussed this a lot of this bullshit crap, this isn't called protein deficiency, right? It's all about your biochemistry, right? So you need to really measure your biochemistry. You really need to understand which specific amino acid, with this tyrosine, tryptophan, phenylalanine, which specific amino acid is there, right? And how it is being metabolized by your biology, by your microbiome, by your human cells, right? By your enzymatic functions, right? So until you don't measure that, right, any sort of taking proteins may be detrimental to your heart health, right? Uh, and or even tracking APOA1 or APOB100 could be a good starting point, but until as you understand why APOA1 is suppressed or why APOB100 is overexpressed, right, you can't adopt a preventative solution to improve your heart health, right? So again, since we know it's our body works in a system biology approach, so there is nothing called everything is virtually connected. Unfortunately, we are treating every organ separately, right? So companies who are focusing on type 2 diabetes via CGM, they're just focusing on your blood sugar response, right? They do not see how this impact your heart health, your kidney health, right? So again, that is why, because they don't understand the human biochemistry, human biology, right? Even if someone is saying we are tracking your heart health just by cholesterol levels, or even tracking your APOA1 or APOB100, right? It is not going to help, because ultimately what you will do after you suppose your APOB100 is overexpressed, what you will do, what solutions you have, because you don't know the source of that overexpression of that particular, APOB100, right? So essentially, you really need to go deep to your biology at a molecular cell level. You to understand your cellular biochemistry, to understand your cells are operating, and also another thing, right? Your cells are made up of fats, right? It needs lipids, cholesterol, fatty acids to maintain the structure and fluid and fluidity, right? So if you do not have cholesterol in case, because if you think high cholesterol is the reason for your heart disease, yeah, you're going to suppress it. You're stating then you don't have enough cholesterol, right? Your cells become fragile. Your cells cannot produce nitric oxide, because for the interest of signaling, you need this maintain the cell structure and fluidity. So if there's no cell is fragile, your cell membrane is not functioning well, or probably there's no fluidity around the cell membrane. So essentially, you can't sense what is outside of cell. You can't produce nitric oxide. You can't activate your PGC1 alpha for your mitochondrial biogenesis, right? So essentially, when you cannot produce nitric oxide, you cannot clear glucose. Again, we know that nitric oxide is one of those signals that tells your GLUT4 to go to cell membrane, bind to glucose, and clear it from circulation, right? So again, it all thing is connected, right? So do not blame your cholesterol for your heart health, right? Understand your biology, measure your biochemistry properly. That's it for today. Have a great day. Thank you very much.